Hey, help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also hit that like button to subscribe if you want more Cavs-focused content. Cavs continue to be extremely impressive. Look, let's face facts. Since they have traded for DeAndre Hunter, the Cleveland Cavaliers have been on an absolute tear. I think they played one close game since they've traded for DeAndre. Every other game has been a 20-point blowout. There's a couple 30 bombs in there, including tonight where the Cavs won by 4 Tristan Thompson minutes and 2 Tristan Thompson points. 40 points if you like point differential, better than those metrics. They have been insanely impressive. What has made, I think, these last 2 games very impressive is the fact that, one, the Cavs were able to beat a pretty good team, a playoff team, in Memphis without Darius Garland. Huge, right? And then today, without Darius Garland, look, you expect them to beat Orlando, but they absolutely pulverized Orlando. This was never close. The Cavs were, even without Darius Garland, in a completely different league than Orlando as a basketball team. Just straight up outclassed them on every level. And just made Orlando look like a non-threat to them. I know a lot of people are concerned because of worries of years past about if the Cavs are going to repeat a disappointing playoff performance. At this point, I'd be extremely surprised. This team is focused. This team is talented. This team is well coached. This does not look like a team that is going to fall short of expectations. This feels like a team that's up for the task that's ahead of them. Again, I talked about it. It's the little stuff with Kenny Atkinson, right? We were concerned. A lot of Cavs fans were concerned. I got tons of messages, tons of questions on Q&As about if this Cavs team is going to repeat the same mistakes that they repeated after the All-Star break in previous years, where the Cavs would dip a little bit. It's been the exact opposite. The Cavs have come out this All-Star break with a new, renewed focus and intensity. Like, it seems like they got more to prove than they did before the All-Star break. This is a dangerous basketball team. It's a damn good basketball team. The Cavs are 48-10. That means the Cavs have already matched their win total from last year, which was good enough to net them a 4 seed in the East. The Cavs have locked that up. They've basically, they haven't officially clinched the playoffs mathematically, but they've pretty much clinched the playoffs. They are pretty damn close to clinching at least home court for the first round of the playoffs. The Cavs are on a tremendous run. They're 48-10. I did a video, and this is perfect timing, about Shaquille O'Neal yesterday, and basically talking about how he has this take that I think is not great, where he keeps talking about the Cavaliers as if they're this one-player pony, right? Like, he's like, hey, if Donovan Mitchell's not going to score a ton, then the Cavs don't really have somebody who can answer. And I get what he's saying, but I just don't agree with it, because I think what he's saying is that he doesn't believe that Darius Garland in the playoffs is going to be somebody you can count on to get you 30 if you need it, or Evan Mobley in the playoffs is going to be somebody you can count on to get you 30 if you need it. And I think it is true that those two have that to prove, but this season also is evidence that the Cavs do have other guys who could put up points if need be. Case in point, right? And it was funny seeing Shaq make this point before the game about the Cavs needing somebody outside of Donovan Mitchell to step up in order for them to be a legitimate threat to the Celtics. And in this game, Donovan Mitchell only plays 23 minutes, only gets 11 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and it was everybody else who stepped up and dominated in this game. Evan Mobley is on a run here. He's on a fantastic run here. 28 minutes, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. Evans' offensive game is really coming together. Still turns the ball over a little high, right? But I think that's him getting used to having the ball as much. But defensively, super solid. Offensively, very consistent. Who would have thought last year at this time we'd be talking about Evan Mobley nonchalantly giving you 20 a night? It's what it's been. It's what it's been. 17 on 28 minutes is basically as good as like 20 on 35, right? Like this is very impressive what he was able to do here. Thought Isaac Okoro in this game much better. It looked like he got a lot more comfortable coming back from this injury. Because his first couple games back, he was just straight up bad defensively, and he was a non-factor offensively. Tonight he was 2 from 2 from 3, and played, I think, much better defense. Even had a block early in this game, which really got the bench going. Also had a steal as well. So love to see Isaac get going there, because I was a little concerned him coming off that injury that he wasn't going to be as effective defensively. Jared Allen had a quiet night, 8 and 7. Didn't really need much out of him tonight. We talked about Donovan Mitchell. Didn't really shoot well from the floor tonight, 5 of 12. Had a bit of an off night. Really didn't matter. Max Strus in 21 minutes gave you 17. 6 of 9 from the 3. 5 of 7 from, not 6 of 9 from 3. 5 of 7 from 3. 6 of 9 from the floor. And Max Strus is a very interesting player to watch because he does some things that can drive you crazy, but he's a good player. So you allow him to do some of these things that drive you crazy. Like his shot selection is straight up bad sometimes, but he makes them shots sometimes. So you just kind of let him live by it. And what he is a good flint, right? Like if you need a fire started, he's going to be willing to shoot, right? When guys aren't willing to shoot because they're a little cold. Like you do need shooters on the team who aren't afraid to have a 1 of 8 night. Not saying you want him to go 1 of 8 all the time, but you want somebody who's not going to go out there scared, which can sometimes be a problem with some of the Cavs' other shooters here. DeAndre Hunter was fantastic in this one. Again, I do not think it's a coincidence that the Cavs have seemingly leveled up from a team that already had an incredible record when they traded for him. But since they've traded for DeAndre Hunter, they've leveled up. I don't think they've lost yet since they traded for DeAndre Hunter. And think about that. Think about that. It looks this good, and like we're in the infant stages of him acclimating to the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? Like we were supposed to go through the growing pains at this point, right? Like the 8 games, like we were supposed to, okay, we got to figure out how to get him in the line. It's been so seamless with DeAndre. It's been so seamless. Like it's obvious how he's going to help this team. It's obvious how he fits this team. Got to give credit to Kenny Atkinson. That's another thing that Kenny does well. Like Kenny's resume for Coach of the Year is like super long. Because this is another thing that goes on that resume. Being able to put these new pieces together in a way that makes more sense, right? He did this with this Cavs team where instantly, out the gate, they go 15-0. Even though it's the same team, the chemistry is so much better. So much better than it was the year prior. And it's not like J.B. Bickerstaff is a terrible coach. You're seeing what he's doing in Detroit. Like, it's one of the better coaching jobs in all of basketball. Like, J.B. Bickerstaff was not a slouch. It's just Kenny is just such a better coach than somebody who's already a pretty good coach. And Kenny does a great job of figuring out how these pieces fit and then creating a game plan to use these pieces effectively. And I think what we're seeing with DeAndre Hunter, case point, had a vision, implemented that vision, put him out there. There's no figuring it out. It's already figured out. It's obvious how he fits here. That is one of the biggest strengths of Kenny Atkinson, that there's been no real adjustment period here. DeAndre Hunter shooting like prime Kyle Korver right now. Like straight up. 4 or 5 from 3, so it's 80% from 3. 5 of 8 from the floor. He shot better from 3 than he did from the floor total, which is crazy. 17 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists for DeAndre Hunter. I don't think it's a coincidence you trade for him and all of a sudden this happens, right? You get some wings on the roster and all of a sudden this team explodes. He's a huge part of what this team wants to do. And Ty Jerome, man, he's going to win you a playoff game or two. I'm marking my words right now. Ty Jerome's going to win you a playoff game or two because it's not just that he can get these buckets. He's a microwave off the bench. The Cavs straight up have 2 6-man of the year contenders on their bench. Like, that's how strong their bench is in DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome. And, like, they're both really good in different ways, and they can be played together, which is super important, right? Like, the comparison to that early Warriors team, right, that 2015 Warriors team, this is where it's most strong, right? Because we can talk about the play style and everything else and the similarities between what Evan could do and what Draymond Green can do offensively and defensively. But where that comp is so strong is what DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome offer to his Cavs team, right? Those two, right, if we're going to say that, you know, Donovan's playing the role of Steph Curry and Darius is playing the role of Klay Thompson in some ways offensively, and you know, Jarrett's there, and then you have Evan. It's not 1-to-1 with the starting 5. This team has very different strengths and very different levels of those strengths than that Warriors team. But the bench, right? Your Andre Iguodala is DeAndre Hunter, who's a lot better of a shooter than Iggy was at that point in his career. And then Sean Livingston feels like what Ty Jerome is, a big guard that you can roll off the bench, that can get his own shot, that can get offense going, that can make sure that the ball is facilitated. Like those two, right? People talk about this Cavs team not being different. But when you have on your bench 2 players who can win 6-man of the year, when you have on your bench 2 players who add such different dimensions to what you could do offensively and sometimes defensively, especially in the case of DeAndre Hunter, that makes you a completely different basketball team. So I know people tell me, oh, yeah, well, the starting 5 didn't really change that much. So this team's not that different than last year. Why should we expect different? Well, this team is different because last year this team didn't have a bench. Last year this team was super starting 5 reliant. And for the last few years, they've been super starting 5 reliant, right? What's changed with the Cavs this year is they have a real bench anchored by 2 of the best bench players in the NBA. That's the big difference between this Cavs team last year and this year. And that's why they're on this run. Because when they leave when they take their starters out and they're up by 20, those starters could come back in up 30. And it's not even like they stagger. Well, they stagger the starters, so it's not like everybody goes out at once. But having those 2 high-level bench pieces, well, that's what makes you a championship contender this year. And the evolution of Evan Mobley. And the improvement, the steady improvement of Jared Allen. And the improvement of Darius Garland. And Donovan Mitchell improving in his ability to facilitate, being patient, letting the flow of the game come to him. Everybody has improved, and then you have legitimately beefed up this bench to the point to where they're one of the best, if not the best bench in the NBA. I don't know any other bench that has 2 6-man of the year contenders. The Cavs have separated themselves from the rest of the East and the rest of the West. I think there are 3 teams that you got to look at now that feel like they're different than everybody else in the NBA. Oklahoma City, Boston, and Cleveland. And you want to know how you know that these 3 teams are different than everybody else in the NBA? If any team beats one of those 3 teams, it's an event. If somebody beats the Thunder, we find out about it. It's a big deal. Somebody beats the Cavs, everybody talks about it. It's a big deal, right? If somebody beats the Celtics, everybody talks about it. It's a big deal. Because these are the 3 teams that everybody has understood are extremely difficult to beat for all the reasons that we mentioned. That's my thoughts on this game, where the Cavs are right now. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.